Hey everyone, in this video we're going to show you how to draw a hockey stick. So grab your pencils and let's get drawing. So we'll do a wood hockey stick, we'll draw some wood grain, and we'll give you some facts along the way. So we'll start out with the blade of the hockey stick, and we'll just start with the end, which is somewhat curved over here. I'm going to go nice and slow because sometimes what happens is if you try to rush this part of the drawing, you end up not drawing the right curvature on the stick. So we're just going to go really slow down here. And you can kind of see I'm just starting to put the curved part over here, and we'll start to go down over here. I'll just go through the whole process, and we're just going to draw the bottom half of the stick, not the whole shaft. So did you know that hockey sticks go back to the 1800s? Basically, the first hockey stick would be an entire wood piece made of one entire piece of wood that was basically carved and put together to become a hockey stick. I'll tell you more later, but today hockey sticks are actually made in 2 or 3 parts in multiple different ways and methods. But the first hockey stick was actually made out of wood and one giant piece of wood. Very interesting to know, and that's almost 200 years ago. So the bottom part of the shaft, you really need to, the bottom part of the blade of the stick, you need to kind of have a bit of curvature to it, so you can kind of see them. Just putting a little bit of curvature down at the bottom. And what happens is around here, you're gonna start to curve up, right? So you're gonna slowly get this curved up over here, and then we'll go up, 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 and I'm just gonna draw a straight line at this point. Now, if you want, you can darken this up because it's a bit light, okay? I'll darken it up so you can kind of have a good sight on it as well. There you go, okay? We'll finish that off in a second. I was saying that the first hockey stick would have been made out of one piece of wood. It was in the 1920s that hockey sticks actually started to be made from 2 pieces. So basically this piece and then this piece would be 2 separate pieces of wood. So that was in the 1920s. So from the 1800s, I think that was quite a ways away in terms of things changing. So it took all that time to really move from a single piece of wood to multiple 2-piece. Now, what you want to do is right around here start to curve this up. You don't go straight up, you slowly get to the point where what happens is right around here, you'll go straight up, and these two should be parallel. These 2 lines should be very parallel. So you kind of, reference that, make sure your lines are pretty parallel. If not, you can always make an adjustment, okay? So there you go. I think over here we could go wider. And this is basically the framework of your hockey stick. So what I would say is maybe just grab something just a touch bit sharper and just go around and just, if you're happy with your shape, just get your pencil and just solidify that outline a bit more. For me, I kind of went slowly for your benefit. But now that I am happy with this, I could just go around and clean this up a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll go through, clean it up, I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. What I want to do is, like I said, I want to draw a wood hockey stick, but we're going to do 2 parts. So the blade over here is actually going to be done, I'll just use a pencil for my straight line, but what we'll do is we'll have a straight line that's probably just around this portion of the stick, which is fairly common. So what you can do is just draw a straight line just like this, and it can be kind of light because we're going to draw on top of it, but just having that line there, typically in the same direction as these 2 lines, is a good way to do this. What we'll do is, because the grains are going to be drawn, we'll basically darken up this portion over here. So I'll use a 5B, and what I'll do is I'll just go up and down and just try to darken up this portion over here. The reason I'm doing this is because this part is made out of a different piece than this. So naturally, and in nature, this part will actually be a different color, unless you by chance get kind of the same wood grain lining up, which is not very likely, So what you want to do is just perhaps darken up this whole area. So I won't speed this up. I'll take you through each step, but just kind of use your pencil to go up and down, and we'll do some smudging to try to get this looking just a little bit more realistic as well. Like I said, I'll bring you through each step along the way here, so don't worry, I won't leave you behind. So we'll basically get some pencil strokes on here, up and down, just like this. Longer strokes are probably better, probably will look better. So you can just get some strokes going up and down. And then, you know, don't worry too much about anything up here. We're gonna put something over here, you'll see shortly. So what you can do is smudge just a tiny bit. Okay. The hockey stick is fairly thin. I mean, we don't want this to look like a 2D drawing either, right? So what you can do is you can actually put some darker shading just around this part, just over here. And this could carry through even to this side over here. Very subtle, right? Very, very light, very subtle. But what we're trying to do here is show that this is actually a 3D piece. So what you can do is just this ever so slightly bit of pencil just pulling, what I call pulling off of that solid line. So if your solid line is over here, you could probably just pull down some of the lead and just repeat this. So you can see already this is starting to look a little more 3D-like, isn't it? So what we'll do is keep this going over here. I think I told you before, this is wood grain. So what we'll do is we'll just get some wood grain lines drawn from bottom to top. And it is kind of natural to kind of have some wood grain just like this that goes up. They're kind of natural looking, so you don't have to have like an exact pattern to it. And we'll just keep this repeating as we go from left to right. Okay? Basically just do that and kind of let some of this lead kind of bleed into the page, as we've always done in many of our drawings. Okay. So that's starting to look a bit better. So what happens is, like I said, this part is going to be darker and this part is going to be lighter, but we still want to get some shading done on this side. So what we'll do is right over here, we'll just get some tones going, and we'll start out by just getting right over here, we'll get some tones just like this. This is a starting point, right? So what we're going to do is use just a bit of a cross-hatch pattern across. So we're going to go like this, and we're going to go from left to right and just get this pattern moving across the blade. That's all. This is all we're doing, right? I'm going to go thinner as I go from left to right. It's just kind of showing the natural pattern of perhaps wood grain. There's no reason for that I'm doing that. A different piece of wood could have a different pattern, but there's definitely some sort of patterning that occurs when you take a grain of, or a cross section of wood, right? So I'm going to hit it just ever so slightly. And sometimes what you need to do is just go back and just make sure it didn't get lost. Okay. So that's all I'm going to do. Now, what I might want to do is do the same thing again, just a little bit lower. If I do that just a little bit lower, I probably want to keep the same distance from the piece above. So, and I'm going to go thinner over there, and I might just hit it once or twice with my finger as well. I might also be inclined to do the same thing a couple more times, but this time they're going to get, I think, much, much smaller. So over here, what I want to do is just get this pretty small, just like this. And I'll do it again, even down here. See how I'm kind of giving it a natural pattern, like longer, shorter, shorter, shorter. It's just the way that I've decided that this piece of wood is going to have grains in it. Now, what I definitely want to do is make sure that we let some of the lead kind of move around this area. Now, if it's not really happening, or you don't have enough on there, what you might want to do is also just slowly, very slowly and very lightly, just let your pencil touch the page. Don't press on the pencil. That's all we're doing right here. This is all I'm doing, and I'm just kind of moving in the same direction as this wood grain. It'll start to look a little more natural in a second. You'll kind of see exactly what I'm trying to do. So there, you can already see it's coming together, okay? Now, we might come back to this. What I think we'll do is we'll work on this area over here. So what's interesting about what I was saying about hockey sticks is that I said in the 1920s, two-piece sticks were very common, but in the 1930s, three-piece sticks were actually what most NHL players were using in the 30s. And in fact, in the 1950s, the manufacturers were wrapping the blades in fiberglass, basically to add strength to the blade of the stick. So really interesting evolution of the hockey sticks. So what you want to do if we're going to draw something that's, again, a wood grain, is you can get, right over here, you can get some wood grain just from here and over. Here and over here. I'm just basically putting on some natural grains into the wood. This drawing is just as much about drawing natural wood grains as it is about drawing a hockey stick, isn't it? So let's speed this up. I'll finish this up quicker for you, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. We just basically did some more wood graining up here and just basically showing, what that would look like on a hockey stick. What's really interesting is that when you do have some hockey sticks, there tends to be some black lines on there, and I think they tend to be somewhat of part of the pattern of the stick. So we're actually going to draw those lines, and we're going to start right around here, and we're going to move over. Did you know that a lot of people credit Bobby Hull for inventing the curve of the stick? Basically, he was the most well-known person for the invention of the curved stick, but believe it or not, it was his teammate, Stan Mikita, who actually truly invented the first curved stick. So Stan Mikita, basically, I think they said he chipped his blade of the hockey stick and realized that he could actually get a better shot and things like that. So I know a lot of people credit Bobby Hull, I believe the father of Brett Hull, but Bobby Hull for inventing the curved stick, but it was Stan Mikita that really should be given the credit. So keep that in mind. I'm just drawing these black lines because on a real hockey stick you do have these what we call curve lines. So we'll put those on. And then what you want to do is you want to get a second curve line just around over here. Now the trick is you want to keep these equidistant. You really want the distance between these lines to be the same. Try not to let them differ too much. So if this line is over here, this is what we're going to do. We're going to keep this pretty consistent from here and over. Going to sharpen my pencil real quick. So we'll just darken this up. I think it's a bit light. Okay, great. Now we'll just do a few more. I think one more will go right around here. It just happens to be on this line, but that's okay. So maybe we'll go over here and we'll go down. And we'll just go over like this. Take your time. You know, there's no reason to rush this. There's no need to like quickly get these lines done. You can take as much time as you need to. You want to make sure that your lines are pretty accurate and you don't have to go back and erase, because it's hard to erase because we kind of put the wood grain below this, right? So it's a bit hard to kind of go back and change it up if you do make mistakes. So try not to. Try to take your time. Okay? And try to grab a nice sharp point of your pencil too and really get these black lines shown. They're not meant to be smudged, and they're really meant to be clear, non-wood grain. These are not wood grain lines. These are actually lines that would be like painted on or put onto the stick, almost like a pattern on the stick, really. So these are the lines that we're drawing. Now, the next line is actually going to come up way up here. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is what I was trying to do before. I think we'll go here and down. So I think what we'll do is we'll get a line right around here. And we'll just basically go like this with the pencil and have it straight. And then right around here, I think what we'll do is we'll continue and we'll start to curve. So we'll start to curve, make sure that our spacing is pretty fair and pretty good, if you will. And we'll just keep this going. Nice and dark, nice and thin, and these are not wood grain lines. These are painted on lines onto the hockey stick. And there's different types of sticks out there, right? So this just happens to be one type of stick that I'm drawing, which is a 2 or 3 part stick, and happens to have these lines and these wood grains. I mean, there's all kinds of sticks out there. So don't get too caught up on the way that I'm doing it versus, you know, the way that you might be drawing the stick as well. So that's another line, and I think we'll do one more. I think the other line that we will do will probably just sit right around here. Okay, so we'll sit right around there and we'll start to curve it around. And we'll bring it around, and I think what happens is right around at the bottom, it starts to basically hug the bottom just around here, and it probably comes right around. And I think it either comes right around or it might even end just around here. So we'll have it end. That's fine. It's not a big deal at all. So they say that in the 1990s, like the invention of like aluminum shafts and composite, I think the aluminum hockey stick was the one that was made most famous by Wayne Gretzky, right? So Wayne Gretzky was really the spokesperson for the aluminum stick. Not the spokesperson, but he was the real, the one that really brought it to light, the aluminum hockey stick. So that was in the 90s, I believe. And then I think in the 2000s, like you see this onset of composite. So composite is like a mixed material of different materials, right? Almost like a fiberglass and mixed materials. So composite became much, much more prevalent in that time frame. And I think today, the most common hockey stick that's used in the NHL and around the world is a composite hockey stick. So composite hockey stick is basically what's most common. Although I'm drawing a wood stick, I thought I would do a bit of like a throwback, if you will, right? Just like a little bit of a different throwback to like the old school wooden hockey sticks. Now, what you might want to do is just get enough pencil shading on here just to show that this is a 3D shape. What happens is if you leave your lines like this, it looks like a 2D drawing. It looks two-dimensional, and that's not what we want. We really want this to look a bit 3D. So what I would do is just put a little bit of pencil around the bottom and then smudge it out. Let that pencil kind of move around the page. If you want, you can just fix up anything that goes out of your lines, and we'll just do that. As we go along. I think the other part is just around here, and just a little bit, just a tiny little bit around the edge will help this look a lot more 3D, right? So see that already? That looks a lot better just looking at that, right? And we want to bring that up though. We want to bring those lines right up, as far up as we can. Sometimes there's a little bit of an angle on the corner of the stick. It's never usually like a straight corner. There's usually maybe an angle. Down here it's different than it is on the shaft. So keep in mind that different parts of the hockey stick are going to have different patterns and different angles to them. So just keep that in mind. And again, I just want to carry this through all the way down. And then lastly, just like get some of that lead moving around, right? If there's anywhere else on here that you feel needs to be fixed, now's the time to do that. I think for me, this line is great. Although it's great, I think it just needs a bit of a touching up just around here. And I think for the most part, we'll just do a bit of a cleanup, but I think we're pretty much done. This was meant to be a more straightforward drawing and not too complex and complicated. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed the process. A couple of those facts along the way. And who knew, back as far as 1800s for hockey sticks. Started as one giant piece of wood, and today you see aluminum, composite, and all kinds of different materials. So I think I want to fix this one last piece just over here and bring this up. Let's do that real quick. When I say bring this up, I mean the shading, right? Let's bring some of the shading up because I think there was too many light spots and it just was creating this look to it that looked just a little bit unfinished. So I think that is better. I hope you enjoyed that drawing. Hopefully you enjoyed the process. Let us know in the comments below if you're drawing along. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And of course, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.